What's the difference a year makes, starting out compared to when you guys first touched down?
Yeah, we're so much further along than we were a year ago. I mean, just to have guys that went through the fire, have been through the install, seeing it again and again, and having worked together just with the staff, you know, being here a full season, it's incredible. We were talking about before camp starts where we're at right now, as opposed to last season, and excited to take the next step.
What's the biggest difference in Aiden?
Maturity, that process as a young quarterback. I think we talked about it a little bit coming out of the spring. I think he learned a tremendous, amount, just some ups and downs of last season. I felt like he kind of finished the season on an upward trend. I do think bringing John Boyer in to quarterback coach and someone that's around him all the time, as far as dialing into some technique stuff and some areas of focus as far as pocket, subtle movement in the pocket. It's been exciting to watch him grow. I also think for him, just an understanding of defensive football and how defenses are trying to attack him. Strengths, weaknesses. I think that for a young QB, you understand some of those looks that you're seeing, the game slows down a little bit for you. It's been, like I said, it's been fun to watch him grow in those areas, and this camp will be, another, good 2 weeks for him.
When you go back and look at last year, in terms of the offensive line, just the numbers that you guys had, how are they compared to a year ago? Getting guys healthy, and then also having guys that one or a year older. You had a lot of younger guys that were kind of getting their first taste.
Yeah.
And are you seeing much of a difference in that?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the whole offense as a whole, and then you really look at that group, and some new faces in there. I thought, with the portal, you bring in some guys that just have some experience, have played a lot of football. With Matt Golden, has played a lot of ball coming from Wake Forest at center. Done a lot of really good things for us, and just strong, physical at the point of attack, and have that center with that experience, I think, is huge. And then, a number of other guys we brought through the portal, and then some guys like Rakeem and Rustin Young, some guys that got a little taste as true freshmen last year, and then had a whole offseason kind of soak and get stronger in the weight room. And then, like I said, just being around Coach M for a whole nother year in terms of development. I think those guys are thinking less. Things are slowing down for them, and we're a lot further along. And I think, one other guy I think I wanted to mention, bringing in Luka Vincic, a guy that was with Coach M, that he recruited and coached a little bit back at Oregon State. Just someone that's been around him, knows how he wants things done, and bringing a little bit of intensity, as a kind of a competitive guy in that room, I think has been really good. Noticed that.
With all the things that you have to do in the next month, is that the top priority, is figuring that group out with everything else around it?
Yeah, I mean, it's up there. We got a bunch, the list is pretty big. But that is, I think, just kind of sorting it out. But we feel really good about it. I feel like we've got some really good options. It's just who's going to end up where, and which five are we going to end up with. I think our depth, we feel good, about putting out a number of guys out there. I just think going into the season, feel so much better going into the year with some healthy bodies, more than that are going right now, that have some experience and are strong enough to go out there and play for us and win games for us.
What's the benefit for you now, sort of being tied to the quarterbacks now, and then of course having a better idea of your personnel? When a year ago you guys were trying to figure out really kind of who you have. Now you have more understanding of that, but also you're not tied to one position. How's that helped you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is the first time in my career that and I'm still very involved in the QB room, and I just think as the play caller, man, you got to be on the same page with that quarterback wise, and it's been awesome because John and I worked together for 5 seasons prior to coming here, to where I really have a good deal of trust, in him and the things that he's communicating with the QB. But yeah, it has allowed me to kind of have my eye on some other positions, be in some other position meetings. And then I just think anytime going into year 2, you get an idea of hey, strengths, weaknesses. I know this guy can get open on this route, or this is the personnel that we'd want in for this concept. And then trying to have in the spring to figure out some of the new guys that we brought in. It's been fun, but I feel like we've got a lot more weapons than we did a year ago.
Where do you think you guys made the biggest improvements from start of spring ball to where you are now?
I just think the consistency in execution. I thought last year, we just killed ourselves a lot, whether it was, a pre-snap penalty, not being aligned or a missed assignment up front. So much of the stuff we couldn't even get started because we were killing ourselves. 10 guys doing it right, one guy doing it wrong, and I just feel like the consistency that we've got and older guys that have been around here taking a little bit more ownership, a little bit leadership, holding the young guys to a standard like that. I feel like we're kind of getting that culture established and not beating ourselves quite as much. Just the consistency and execution.
Brian, what impresses you about Alessio, and would you ever consider putting him in the way that you did with Aiden at Oregon State to get a series prescribed?
Yeah, too soon for that, in my opinion. But Alessio, we're fired up about Alessio, man. I big arm, and he's done a really nice job of picking up the offense. Really sharp guy, and puts in the time, I would feel really good about putting him in the game. And I think that's a conversation for John, and Coach Smith and I to sit down and have. But we feel really good about those two and where he's at, and would definitely feel very comfortable putting him in the game if we had to.
Is there anything different about your approach when you talk about adding another voice, or any advice you can give to Aiden or the QB when another voice is going to be involved in this whole process?
Say the first part of it.
Another voice you add the QB coach, so
Yeah.
it's a different voice that has to be prioritized. Now, what advice can you give to the quarterback about being able to manage those different voices, or even for you, knowing that there's a different voice that's going to be prioritized with the quarterback or someone like that?
Yeah, I do. I'll start with bringing in that position. It was really important to me to get a guy that I had been around, that I really trusted, and we're speaking the same language. He'd been in that offense. We'd worked together, know each other, and we're going to have a consistent message for sure. But there are going to be times where either myself, Aiden, or John maybe sees things a little bit differently, and we want to kind of establish that room to where, hey, especially during the practice sessions, with hey, we see something differently, we're going to have those conversations, and ultimately, get to the best thing for that play and that concept and what Aiden feels really comfortable with. So I just think bringing in another voice and just someone that can be around him on the day-to-day, all the time. Sometimes, when you're the coordinator and you're the QB coach, now you're going over here to script or game plan, and you're kind of neglecting him as far as sometimes in the individual setting from a technique standpoint. And I think having John around has been awesome for him, to where he's got access to him all the time. And I think it's going to really help us out this season.
Looking at the running back room, do you have kind of a timetable where you want to maybe figure out if you're going to have a bell cow kind of guy, or or do you feel like the rotation may just evolve naturally over camp?
I don't know. I mean, we've done it both ways, and like I said, too early to tell at this point. I think those, the scrimmages and some of those competitive situations as we go through camp will hopefully kind of clear some things up, to whether it's one guy that we're running with, and or we're, kind of a group effort.
What are you seeing?
We've done both, and it's too early. I think he's just rotating them all through
What
right now.
are you seeing
We're trying to
from
get
those
a taste.
guys in terms of, obviously you brought in Elijah, but Tullis and Mackay got some reps, and then you bring in Jace as well, and there's a couple different styles in there that you can choose from.
Yeah, no, I think, starting with the guys that were here, Mackay and Tullis, those guys had been around, got a little taste of it last year, so I think they're a little bit farther along in terms of, comfort with the playbook and the run scheme. Obviously, Brandon's kind of the bigger, more physical. Mackay's got a little bit more shape to him. And then I really impressed with Jace coming out of spring for a freshman. I thought, man, once he, freshman, first half of it was still, mind was spinning, things were moving a little fast, but the back half of spring, he put together some really good reps, and he's just got that ability to make a guy miss and put his foot in the ground and go get you an explosive run, which is something that we're really excited about with him. And then Elijah is just, that experience, just been around, played a lot of ball, and I think that's what we were looking for in that room with bringing him in. And I think for him, it'll just be kind of managing, staying healthy, going through camp, and I feel good about those 4 guys, and it'll just be when we get into those competitive situations, who we feel like gives us the best chance at executing our run scheme.
Red zone was obviously a weakness last year. What did you see this offseason looking at that on film? And I know it's early, but where is that kind of right now?
Well, I think there's a number of things. I mean, I think in terms of, we talked about the execution and all that stuff gets magnified, the details, and I thought we had a lot of stuff to clean up that way. And then we got to run the ball. We got to run the ball and be more efficient down there. And I think that's in the past and places that we'd been, that was something that we really hung our hat on down there in the red zone, is being able to, hey, make it physical. They might have an extra guy down there, but we were gonna get some positive yardage on that, and then create some easy throws for the QB to kind of play and complement off that. I just didn't feel like we ran it at a high enough level last year, and then we didn't execute the details enough when we got down there. And then there's there's obviously some scheme stuff that we study and look to tweak every year to fit our personnel that we studied in the off season that I'm excited about as well.
Nick and Coach Smith mentioned moving him around a little bit more this year. How's he handling that? And I guess is that sort of a fun challenge for you to sort of think about where you can, how you can deploy him in different ways and whatnot?
Definitely, yeah, and that's something we talked to him about in spring football. Was like, hey man, we're going to move you around. You've been in it now for a year. You're very comfortable with it, and I think the beauty in the system that we run is, being able to be very multiple formational, personnel wise, and Nick, I really like being around him because he's a really smart player, to where I feel really comfortable saying, hey, I'm going to put you at Z this play, then you're at X, and I want to put you in the slot, motion to this, whatnot, and try to get you matched up. And he's had a really good attitude about it. And then for us, it's just seeing, challenging him in those areas and seeing what routes, fit his skill set, because we got some pretty other good guys too that I feel like can do some of that stuff. I feel really good about that room and how he's picked that up.
How much of his future and potential production is based around those other guys? I mean, as obviously last year, there was a lot of focus on him after that Maryland game.
Yeah.
And you brought in so many receivers. Do you feel comfortable that they're going to draw some attention away from him?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not initially.
Yeah.
But no, we really like the group we brought in. I think we hit on all 4 of those guys. Each has their different skill set, but man, again, you bring in guys that have a little bit of experience, that have been productive at the college level. Really, all those guys came in, picked it up, had a pro mentality as far as coming in, picking up the system. Have had a really good, attitude about, hey, I'm going to contribute, I'm going to block in the run game as well. And then there were some other guys that we've had in the program. I'll say Charles Taplin has stood out through the first 3 practices as one of our young freshmen. Can really roll, and he's been able to, we've been able to connect with him on a couple explosive plays. So I really feel like we've upgraded the personnel in that room, and definitely having someone opposite, a couple people opposite of Nick, to where if they double team, we've got something else, or the run game to take advantage. I'm excited about that.
We know Boyd is bigger, but the other 3 transfers, what separates them? How are they different?
Amari Kelly, really versatile, guy that has played a lot of football, really smart, can play outside, can play inside, really good route runner. And I just feel like he's kind of that all-around guy that can do a lot of different things. He can stretch the D, he can win one-on-ones, he's got a little bit of length. Like I said, he's one of those like high-energy guys you like, kind of contagious, you like being around. He's been really good for that room. And then Rod Bullard, again, another guy that kind of, has played a little bit, probably, more in the slot, but a guy that can play outside as well, that had a 1,000-yard season over there at Valdosta. Have really liked, him. And then Krishan, to me, the thing that jumps out is explosion, man. Like the ability for a big play, whether it's a, high percentage bubble screen or an option route underneath, with the ability to catch the thing, make a guy miss, and create a big play. Or if you come up and press him, he's got the ability to take the top off the defense. So I think we've got some fun pieces to move around there. And like I said, I fired up about all 4 of those guys we brought in. I feel like we hit on all 4, and I don't think you can always say that in that thing. So I thought our personnel department and coaches did a really good job of evaluation in that process.
Would those three help you in the return game too? I know that's not your main area, but do you see those guys returning kicks?
I would think so. That's not my call, but I think those guys have the ability to do it. I couldn't tell you where they're at right now as far as the return game goes.
With Jack out right now, with those other guys behind him, how critical is this stretch maybe for you identifying beyond Michael, who these guys that haven't really had a lot of reps in the system yet that can be contributors, and how much is it important for them to kind of
Yeah.
make their name and say, we can block, we can catch, whatever we need to do?
It's an awesome opportunity for those guys, just in terms of reps, go, and it's been great to get Brendan Parachek back. He's just a guy that's kind of battled injuries, really missed spring and training camp last year, and was kind of trying to catch it up during the season. So it's been great to have him at the beginning of camp, like out there all the time, just taking reps, I feel like he's improving every day. And then bringing in Kai Rios, another, a transfer guy in there, and kind of getting an idea for his skill set. But it has been good because, the reps that Jack would typically take, really giving all those guys kind of opportunities to take some of those reps where it's the, primary pass threat is the tight end, and seeing which routes we feel good about those guys doing. And I think that'll be something that we've got eyes on really, close here.
I would imagine
Moving
getting an
through.
extra guy too, and if you go too tight, that, give some other guys some opportunities if, Jack's seeing those two bodies on him or whatever it is, there's someone else out there that can make a play.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for the room. Anytime you're getting that competition in that room, good opportunity for those guys.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.